Today's class, it is related to the importance of agro-literacy and eco-literacy for sustainable development. We need development. In that way, we have to give concentration on the knowledge related to agriculture and related to the ecology. Whereas the knowledge, understanding of agriculture and its importance upon the environment and the social system, it is need of the hour. From the beginning or from the schooling level or from the higher education and research level, the knowledge related to agro-literacy, it has to be considered very seriously. The positive and negative effects of agriculture, history of agriculture, science and ethnoscience of agriculture, the indigenous and traditional knowledge in agriculture, basic concepts related to the ecology, agronomical concepts, the land use, usage of water and other resources for the agriculture wisely, the economics related to the agriculture and labor practice comes under the category of agro-literacy. Whereas the agriculture education, which teaches us the usage of sources, the usage of other components, and the knowledge and component related to the horticulture, the land management, agriculture sciences, then livestock management, nutrition, health, the machinery, harvesting, post-harvesting related aspects, and the modern agriculture practices, which are all comes under this category. There is levels of agriculture which includes various concepts, whereas enormous government, national level, international level funding, international level advocacy, which related to the agriculture education, which increases to enhance the agriculture productivity and other concepts. The need of agri-education, which provides us the secure food supply, the need of next generation to be increased in farming and other food and other agricultural carriers. It's also crucial for the public understanding, and whereas food comes from, that is a need. Challenges what we have, there is plenty of challenges we are facing. There is lack of knowledge, lack of traditional knowledge related aspects, and poor farming techniques, limited access to quality farm inputs, too much relying on rain, lack of marketing, data and information, then inadequate production and post-harvesting technologies, inadequate disease control with related to the agriculture, lack of awareness, technical awareness about the growing farming community, the limited funding, the low production and productivity resulting in low revenue, and addition of agriculture products. Nowadays, the climate change also having its own impact on a very big challenge for the process of agriculture. The world conservation strategy, and with related to help these category, we have to understand the world conservation strategy as well as the state of nations priority with related to this knowledge plays a pivotal role. There are these factors, whereas population exposure, forest, grassland, agricultural lands, water, coastal regions, and active plants, which plays a nation all over the world. These are all the important priority we have to give to make the environment as a secular environment as a good resource for the world's as well as nations posterity. The population exposure plays a crucial role in this particular thing, whereas the state of India's environment, which contains the character related to the land, usage of water, forests, dams, the atmosphere, the habitat, and the population, everything which plays an important role to give concentration on the environment of the nation. Whereas the related to the forest plays a very important role. For a nation required 33% of active forest land to confirm its secularity with related to the presence, with related to the forest land and other factors. There are different regions, there are different forest, rainforest, and moist dense forest, and deciduous forest and other forests which plays a very important role to supply the water, to supply the good aeration and supply the land management and supply the wildlife which is considered as a treasure to the nation. The coastal region. How far the coastal region we are giving importance, whereas the coastal region, especially there is a very good life forms are there in the coastal region, that is mangrove forest, and as well as the coastal maintenance for the food security, for the development of the environmental system which is present in the coastal region plays a pivotal role. Whereas in the other factor, what we are facing, it is agriculture. The cultivational practices what we are having, the land what we are already used, or the land it is used wisely, or the production of high level of the material inputs, agricultural inputs we are using, or we are using the good cultivated land in a proper usage, or it is a junk cultivation we are following, or any other innovative practices what we are planning in the agriculture fact, that plays a very important role to understand in this particular concept. For example, air. For example, air quality for a nation's development, for health, for securing good health, for securing all the basic amendments, the air quality plays a very important role. How far our development, how far our secularity, how far our companies, or how far our transportation which is safe to the atmosphere plays a very important role to confirm the ecosystem, confirm the conservation of the ecological system. The population exposure plays a very vital role, and nowadays for increasing population, how we are using our vegetation, how we are using our agricultural land in a method or in a proper manner, that plays a very important role. Whereas in the other concepts, we are seeing the water. How are the groundwater utility, groundwater it is getting used, how far our practices, our policies to increase the groundwater level. We are facing plenty of crises related to the water and sanitation. It is a basic right to all the person. Whereas how we are planning for a wastewater treatment plant, how we are planning for the security in a healthy and safe water for all plays an important and pivotal role. The biological diversity, what we are facing, what we need for a nation plays a very important role. The wild sesame, the natural sesame, the wild relatives which support us, which helps us for the productivity plays a very important role. The animal or the avian diversity, everything which conforms the nation's treasures, and it directly or indirectly involving for the maintenance of the vegetation. For example, we can tell this squirrel, Malabar giant squirrel, plays a very important role for the seed disposal, for the seed transportation, and as well as for the seed germination. And certain birds also plays an important role for the seed germination and other aspects. Whereas the climate change have a adverse impact on the coastal system and the vegetative land and the people who depend on the coastal system, and in other aspects also. Whereas people lost their rainforest, the people lost their vegetative cover due to the failure of monsoon. Whereas in the another aspects, the people lost their basic amendments, lost their vegetative land, was their habitat due to the excess rainfall. The education, providing a proper education, providing knowledge related to eco-literacy, agro-literacy, and its adverse effect related to the climate change plays a pivotal role. As a club, as a members, as a group, as a cluster, we have to inculcate the knowledge related to the climate change and climate resilience lifestyle. It plays a very important role, especially it is a backbone for the sustainable development. So the security to the nature, we have to give the nature security through all our lifestyle, all our planning, all our active plan, whatever we are planning. Next. So in this particular thing, the pollution or maintaining waste management, or in the landfill, or effective usage of waste management, especially solid waste management in the developing countries, it is a very big challenge. And planning for the development, planning for the construction or urban development with related to the green construction practices or sustainable construction practices, which helps us to maintain the waste management and other aspects. Usage of the natural resources, usage of the plant, microbial and other sources for the benefit, another sources for the benefit related to the water regeneration or water conservation or the land erosion eradication and mitigation of climate change issues, everything for which we are using bioprospecting. This particular diagram clearly explains how far the green, how far the plants or how far the microbes, which helps us to clean the water with very less cost effective practices or cost effective method. It provides us a knowledge. Whereas the behavior of the aquatic plants, some extent aquatic plants are used here to clean the water. There are number of pollutants which every day which are released in the water, that is due to anthropological and other industry development or the urban development or city development, whereas the water body is getting contaminated. In some extent need of the water recycling, it to reduce the rainfalls, then increases its standard of living, then depletion of natural water resources, prevention of water pollution, for inadequate cleaning of the water and freshwater resources. We need the water recycling practice in some extent. Whereas the industry level and the social level, it created and it damages the nature around us, damages the ecological system which around us and which causes. There are certain creatures, certain plants which helps us to some extent, which helps us to remove the pollutant from the water source. Even though the Eichhornia crassifers, it is invasive, it is considered as a weed or water hyaen in some extent, which helps us to clean the water through the through collection of certain heavy metal. It will be identified, it will be removed from the plant sources, and other utilization for certain kind of species, which provides us knowledge with related to drought tolerance, heat tolerance, cold germination, drought recovery, then drought inevitable problems, salt tolerance and all, which are all helps us, which are all provides us knowledge to work upon the work related to the agricultural or agri-resilience, climate resilient agriculture in this particular aspects. For intolerance or in the stress which created different types of level, it exhibits with different results what we are facing. Whereas other kind of plants, some kind of plants contains the amphibian nature, which helps us to clean the water, which helps us to remove the waste from the water content and other aspects. That's again the water plant Lemna minor, Canna indica, which helps us to clean the water through the root zone cleaning method. The nature system, the adaptation factor of this particular water plants, this particular amphibian plants, which helps us through the gaseous exchange with related to the sludge. If it is a domestic sludge, it contains a very good effective manner, whereas the green cleaning we can follow or we can do the practices. Another important thing for the water treatment, we are using vetiver. There are around 7 sustainable development goals achieved through the vetiver. It is native plant of Tamil Nadu, and in Tamil Nadu it is called, in Tamil it is called as vetiver, and in Malayalam language they are calling it as Ramacham. And there are number of factors, number of usage are there. The one important factor, this particular monocot contains a very big root system. This particular root helps to restore the soil, which helps to restore the water level in the groundwater recharging channels, or related near to the canals if they are planning. There are more than 7 to 8 countries they have used this particular plant for maintaining their canal, for maintaining their land system, or maintaining their slopes. They are effectively used to this. And the root contains the fragrance, which helps us a very good economic income to the income generation people or agroeconomic people, those who depending on this particular plant. And so certain kind of plant, we are calling it as serpentines, whereas which are all active against some kind of heavy metals, or otherwise the serpentines are called as metallophytes, which provides us the knowledge where the presence of metal in that particular soil. The families of Brassicaceae and other group which plays a very important role. Whereas in another aspect, the algae, the biological thing, there is single cell protein or algae, single cell plants. In some extent, the green algae provides us a very good source for the resource production, the biofuel and cleaning of water. In some extent, act as a fertilizer, in some wastewater treatment, or in some extent as a food for human, as well as in another aspect where we can explore the algae and other organism for this particular thing. The algae biofuel, there is a preparation, a production. The algae, the sun through the solar, it has the light, it is converted in the lipidification, and then from the oil it is converted through the glycerization process or the removal of protein. It has produced some level of energy source which helps us to the usage of various production of various products. Whereas we had a clear idea with related to the use, whereas in other plants, potential microalgae in some extent plays a pivotal role when comparing to the other sources and comparing to the other green sources. We can depend, we can plan on, we can go ahead with the other aspects. Whereas the algae biofuel, through the process optimization, we can get a very good resource. We can get a very important source from the algal biodiesel from the sources. There are a number of algae are there. There are diatoms are there. There are certain oscillatorial algae are there. There are certain micro. There are certain filamentous algae, and there are some colonial algae. Everything plays a pivotal role, whereas it provides us a very good source of energy production. Whereas bioprospecting for the natural or environmental reclamation, or for the soil regeneration or water recharging practices, we can use the microbial and other sources for the betterment of the society, for the betterment of the nation, and for the betterment of the environment and the ecosystem plays a pivotal role. Thank you very much.